Hi everybody, it's Mike here again from TwoDads UK. Thanks for joining us. This episode today is looking at how charities within the fertility industry are supporting those patients trying to conceive or currently in the predicament they've been in. Now, obviously, with the fertility industry about to start back up from the 11th of May, I wanted to speak to one of the UK's leading fertility charities, and that's Fertility Network UK. So today I'm going to be speaking to the lovely Anya, who I've met a number of times before. So we've just had a couple of minutes just having a bit of a catch up. You're going to love her. She's just super adorable. But before you do, I want to tell you a little bit more about Anya. So Anya's worked in the field of fertility now for over 13 years. So she's certainly someone that we're really honoured to have on these sessions today. 6 of those were at London Women's Clinic before joining the Fertility Network. She's also written a book entitled Fertile Thinking and has helped establish several courses for those facing infertility. A little bit more about her then. So she's often in the media. In fact, last week, I think I remember spotting her on the news talking about the fertility industry. She's a champion for, from the patient perspective, actually, on facing infertility. And she's currently incredibly busy lobbying MPs and speaking in Parliament about fair provision for IVF for all, which we're going to talk about, which I'm looking forward to. She's in the Women's Officer for a local Labour Party branch on the Executive Committee for the Fabian Women's Network, and she has worked for 3 MPs and is currently office staff for David Lammy MP. She has 2 children from IVF and 1 from adoption, and is a champion for both the Saying Goodbye and Home for Good. So, without further ado, hello to Anya.
Hello, hi, lovely to be here. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. So we were quickly catching up before this started, just having a bit of a natter. But I don't think I actually asked, how are you?
We went straight in. It's fine. I think doing okay. Considering, I think some moments are easier than others. People keep saying, "Oh, there's good days and bad days," but actually, I think it's good moments and more difficult moments. I think it's very busy. Both jobs have just exploded and become very busy. But I think we're doing the best we can in the circumstance. Is where I sit. Yeah.
And I think that's actually probably fair for most of us, really, to come at it from that angle. Considering there's far more worse off, and yeah. I think it's one of those count your blessings type things. Yes, it's frustrating being cooped up, but it's much better than the alternative. Okay, so how this is working then. We've got a number of questions that we'll run through, and thank you again for being involved. So I think one of the for those that aren't aware, really, I guess it's been a busy period for you in both your roles. But if we talk specifically about Fertility Network and how you're supporting the industry and those patients, tell us a bit about Fertility Network.
So it's a charity I really am incredibly proud of. I knew about it when I was going through IVF and when we were going through our own fertility issues. But I'm really proud of us. We're the UK national charity that supports people right from a diagnosis of infertility right through to all the different roads that people could end up finding themselves on. So it would support people right through treatment and those early diagnosis stages to we've decided to use a donor or a surrogate, or actually we've decided to stop treatment. And it's an umbrella charity, which I think is one of the big plus points of it. So it encompasses a huge range of experiences. We are multifaceted, so we run a lot of things online, thankfully, at the moment. So things like support groups online, Health Unlocked, which is a messaging place where people can chat with other people going through the same kind of experiences, and it's moderated really well. We have lots of information, lots of facts, helplines that people can call, information lines. And then we do a lot of face-to-face work and a lot of lobbying, as you said, politically, to really try and get equal access for all with infertility. So it's a really broad scope. Not a huge amount of people involved with the charity, and I'm always amazed at how dedicated the team are. We do so much with so little in a way, but it's been going for a long time, and I really think it does such an incredible job. I'm very proud to be part of it.
No, you can definitely see that. You can definitely see that. How long have you worked for them?
For about 4 years now. So yeah, been in the fertility sector for about 13, 14 years now. But I've worked for Fertility Network for about 4.
Amazing. So the last 6 weeks, it's been just bonkers for everybody. How has it been for Fertility Network? I'm sure you've probably seen a spike in activity potentially, I'm guessing.
Yeah, we had, in some regions, we had 100% increase of people contacting us. But across the board, really huge numbers of people contacting the helpline, the support line, and our regional staff. And I would say one of the differences, we always deal with patients in various stages of distress. Sometimes it's just information gathering, but a lot of the time there's quite a lot of distress. Whereas actually, I would say these last few weeks, the levels of distress and upset and anxiety have been unprecedented, like nothing we've seen before. I think because I always say to people, at the heart of infertility issues is uncertainty. So you're holding on to an uncertainty, you're living with that uncertainty. Will we ever become parents? How will this work? What's treatment like? Will we find the funding? There's so much that's out of your control. And to have that placed within a global uncertainty, I think it's been really, really difficult for our patients and for the people that we support. So it's a very tough time, and our staff have been working sometimes actually round the clock to support people.
And if there's anyone watching this today that would be interested in becoming a volunteer for someone like Fertility Network, what would they need to do?
Yeah, just contact us. That would be amazing. We would love volunteers. And there's a training that we can put people through so that they're really up to speed with how best to support people. But we do, our staff team is relatively small. And then we do have some amazing volunteers, people who go out and speak in the media, or who help with some of the support aspects, or even just getting leaflets into GP practices, that kind of thing, so that people can hear about the services that we offer. So yeah, please, if people are interested in volunteering, get in touch. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, no, I think it's really the work that you're doing is phenomenal, and it's still quite frustrating how little is known about infertility and fertility.
Yeah.
And it still surprises me the number of even some healthcare professionals, maybe in the community setting, that are still unaware with how to work with those that have been diagnosed with fertility issues. It's really surprising how little is known about people like yourself. So the more we can do to spread that word, the better.
Thank you. And I think you've touched on something really important, actually, that I think years ago people didn't know anything about infertility and IVF and all those things. I think people know the concepts now, but what they don't get is what it means in reality for the 1 in 6 patients going through it. That's the difference. So people have a lot of false ideas about what it's like to go through IVF or what infertility is like. And so I think, cutting through some of those myths and putting the real face of infertility out there is really, really important, and part of the work that we do, and part of the work that you guys do is, it's not what people think it is, I think, a lot of the time.
No, it's so true. And I think we've recently worked on a campaign with Ferring Pharmaceuticals about the Fertility Orcs campaign. And that's exactly like that. It's about bringing forward some of the what not to say, and just help educating people.
Yeah.
what's not cool really to talk about, the pressure that we put on newly married couples, when you're going to have a baby and all of that sort of stuff. General public probably think that's actually an okay thing to say, but I think when you're struggling with fertility issues, it's one of those things that just make you want to hide. And I think campaigns like that and what you do in terms of education, it just educates the public to know how
Yeah.
to support people better.
And we've had that even within the lockdown. I don't know if you've seen, there's been so many headlines about, oh, we're expecting a baby boom. Or, people will be, fertile as anything in their home places. And you're like, oh, my days. It makes a snappy headline. But what you're doing is breaking people's hearts again because they feel inadequate. Because actually, we're dealing with people that are stuck at home, desperately trying to work out how they can become parents and trying to work out how to save enough money for private treatment or any of that. And it's certainly not just become pregnant. And that hurts. Those throwaway comments hurt.
Yeah, agreed. They absolutely do. Okay, so as we mentioned, the industry opens up on the 11th of May, which is tremendous news.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's going to be a phased approach, which we understand. The clinics that I've spoken to, in the last week or 2 weeks, are now inundated, obviously, by eager patients wanting to know when their treatment's going to resume or how they're going to prioritise that patient load. How do you think clinics were consulted in the opening of the industry?
I think it varied massively. I know some clinics that were very involved with lobbying to get the clinics open as soon as possible, as long as it was safe, obviously. Some clinics that were less involved. So I think there was an involvement. I think the work that the HFEA did on this was really important, and we were involved with helping with the guidance around this. So I think it's been mixed, but we are hugely grateful for those clinics that did step up and for the work that the HFEA have done. It's a big project. And we've heard this week that actually the template for how to reopen clinics is being looked at internationally as well. So that's really important.
That is really important.
And yeah, it's a good piece of work. It's a helpful piece of work. But I'm glad you used the phrase staggered, because I think there's been a little bit of a misconception that actually May the 11th is going to come around and miraculously the doors are going to swing wide open, and actually we're going to see quite long waiting times, I think.
Yeah,
we will see people having to wait, and that's going to be hard again.
Yeah, I think my limited understanding is that anything that's quite invasive or requires an anaesthetic might take longer because those anaesthetists are on the front line. So I think frozen embryo transfers may be more straightforward and therefore may resume first, is my limited understanding, which is great news for surrogacy patients and those whose cycles were frozen at the last minute. But not so good for those about to start.
No, and people were at such various stages. We were having calls from people who'd waited years to finally be through the clinic doors, about to start treatment, and then it was pulled. So we had people at that stage, we had people mid-cycle being told to stop treatments and stop the meds. And then, it was a huge array of where people were at, but it was very, very hard, really hard.
Yeah. So a question now close to my heart. So this last week, it's been widely publicised of the same-sex male couple in Scotland who received NHS Scotland funding for their IVF as part of their surrogacy journey. They're now pregnant, which is incredible news. So congratulations to those stories.
Amazing.
Now, NHS England still doesn't provide funding for gay men seeking IVF. Now, even we've, TwoDads UK, put out a petition last year. Sadly, it didn't get the signatures I hoped it would have got, a few thousand, nothing, that was it, which was really disappointing. Obviously, the charity, it's one of the things that you do in terms of campaigning for fairer funding for IVF for all. Are you involved in making sure that all includes my community as well as the heterosexual community?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something we've been looking at really for the last few years to make sure that we are up to speed with all of that. We've got a lot of support structures coming in place specifically for the LGBT community. And we're really wanting to do work in this area because basically, if you need fertility treatment, you need fertility treatment. And therefore, we will campaign for you, we will support you, and you will be part of our community. And it's really that basic, that simple. So absolutely, if you're going through treatment and if you want to go through treatment, then support is here from the charity. It's that simple. But I think it's taken us until recently to get the support structures in place. But we're setting up specific support groups because there are nuances that, you know, maybe being in a traditional support group structure, you wouldn't feel as supported as you could do. So we want to provide the specific support groups if that's what you want. And we've had lots of online work. We're doing a lot of work behind the scenes to support the community. But absolutely, if you are someone about to go through treatment or wanting to go through treatment, then you are part of Fertility Network.
Amazing. So before we close then, from whether it's from your personal perspective or from the charity's perspective, can you give people top 3 or top 5 tips on some wise advice from Anya and Fertility Network?
Yeah, I mean, I always start with the premise of this is as difficult as you're finding it. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but I think so often we beat ourselves up, and I can see us doing it during the pandemic anyway, with, oh, other people have got it worse than us, and we shouldn't really be feeling this. But actually, infertility hurts, and going through fertility issues are difficult. So if you're finding things tough at the moment, that is totally okay, totally understandable, and just give yourself a bit of a break. So it starts with that simplicity. And from there, I'd just say reach out, find the support that you need. It is out there. There's some amazing online groups. There's some amazing support groups. There's information. There's fact sheets. There's support out there. Mm-hmm. So find that support. Find your tribe. Start building your tribe. You know, not everyone will get this period in your life. Not everyone will be able to properly empathise and sympathise. Find the people that do and cling on to them. They will get it. They will get it. They will understand it. And I think bottom line for me is always treating yourself only in the way that you would treat your best mate. So if you saw your best friend at the moment going through what you're going through, there's no way you would be turning to them and saying, well, I hope not, would be turning to them and saying, oh, you know, just sort yourself out and look, other people have got it worse than you. Yeah. What you would be saying is, that sounds tough. How can I help? And give yourself a bit of a break. So apply that same technique, apply that same understanding to yourself at the moment. This is tough. You will find a way through it. Find your tribe, self-care like crazy. Find the things that work for you. You know, one person's yoga is another person's power walk. Find things that work for you to reduce stress and do them like crazy at this time. It's a stressful time for everyone, but for the infertility community, there is a special layer of stress. Mm-hmm. Find it, let us know, we can help you, and just look after yourself.
Amazing advice. Amazing advice. Thank you so much. And again, what I'll do.
So nice.
Oh, bless you. Thank you. I'm going to put all of the links below in the video when this is all published to Fertility Network, and any specific signposted information for support. I'll also make sure that that's all there too. And for those that do want to volunteer within this particular amazing charity, then I'll also make sure that's signposted too. But Anya, thank you so much for giving some time to us today. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you, and all the best. And I'll see you soon.
Thank you. See you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye. If you like what you've seen so far, head over to our website at www.twodaddies.co.uk.
There you can read our blog and subscribe to our newsletter. Or find us on Facebook and Instagram, simply searching at twodads.u.k.